Thank you so much for joining today. Today's chat is really about how we identify ourselves and what we identify with. It's very common to identify with everything external. It's very common for us to, and when I say identify, becoming the thing that you're observing, becoming the thing that your consciousness is aware of. And an example is when people say, I'm anxious or I'm depressed. When you say things like that, you identify with that part of the sentence that comes after I am. And now you become that thing, and then you get completely wrapped up in it. And this is absolutely false. This is not true. You're not depressed. You're not anxious. And at the end of this episode, you'll understand why. But before we dive in, let me walk you through how I got here. Right. So I was on a call with some colleagues, and I don't know how the conversation got there, but I ended up talking about my morning routine. I wake up every morning, I do a meditation, I do some journaling, some reading, do some creation. I make time in my day to be of service, to give of myself freely to strangers or to anyone who needs me. I make this a big part of my life, and I feel the benefits of this routine in the sense that I'm pretty much always calm. I'm always centered within myself. Doesn't mean I don't feel emotions or I don't have feelings. I do, but there's a level of detachment that I have from my emotions and my feelings, and there's a level of access that I have to my inner being where all the truths that I know come from. So I was having that conversation with a colleague, and in that conversation he actually disclosed to me that he was diagnosed with severe depression, multiple personality disorder, and that at the moment he's currently on a cocktail of prescription to manage these conditions. And then he asked me, he was like, how do you do it? How do you manage everything? You're pretty much about the same age, but somehow you don't get to feel these things or experience these symptoms. And then in that conversation, I basically then broke down to him what my routine, my spiritual practice of meditation and journaling and gratitude and service, what that does for me on a spiritual level, and how that creates that internal space and calm for me. Most people think meditation is this woo-woo thing that you just have to do it and then special powers come or you ascend into another realm. For some people it is, and I don't know, but I just have to say that for me, my spiritual practices are a way for me to create distance between my thoughts, the space between my thoughts, create distance between that which is observing, which is the real me and the real you, and the external objects, either in the physical scape or in the mind scape, to exercise that muscle of constant awareness. So when I meditate, and I do a Vipassana style meditation, so you're scanning your body from the top of your head to your feet, and you're observing all the physical sensations that come up for you without judgment. And if you have thoughts and you get drawn away by thoughts, you simply smile and come back into your pattern. What this does for me, it's very simple actually, is it allows me to observe what's happening, any physical sensations, any emotional sensations, any thoughts, without following that storyline, but knowing that I have a mission, which is to get to the other parts of my body. So it's all happening in tandem, they're happening together. I get pulled away by thoughts. I'm like, oh no, I have to go back. I'm in my arms now. I got to do the arms, got to do the chest. Again, you get pulled away, an emotion rises up, maybe something physical, some tightness. You say, oh, I see that one here, but I'm not there yet. I'm in my legs now, so I got to keep working, What this does is it creates that space. It creates a space between your being, who you really are, and the objects of your mind and the objects in your physical reality. This, for me, is spirituality. It's nothing other than this. There's no special power. For me, there's no special gift. You don't know. for me, I believe once you create that space between your observing entity, which is who you really are, and this ever-changing, impermanent physical being that you're inhabiting, then you can truly have a great life that you are in control of. If you don't, then you are by default a prisoner and a victim of your mind and your body and the laws of physics around you that you have no control over. And this sense of helplessness, where you have no agency, is terrifying. It's why people feel lots of unrest. So anyways, back to that conversation, I explained this to him. I said, listen, at the end of the day, all spiritual practices should be doing this for you. Whatever you choose to do, it can be meditating, it can be dancing, it can be writing, it can be reading. Whatever you're doing must allow you to create some space between the observing entity and that which you are observing. And the conversation evolved into, what do you mean the observing entity? Like, I'm the one thinking, it's my mind. I'm thinking it. And I said to him an analogy that I learned a long time ago. I said, think of a time when you were 10 years old. Right now we're in our 30s. So when you were 10 and you looked in the mirror, what did you see in the mirror? And I'd urge us now to also do the same thing, right? So as you listen to this podcast, take a moment, maybe pause the podcast and think about a time when you were younger and you looked at yourself in the mirror. What did you see in that mirror? You saw the body of a 10-year-old, and that was that, right? You had eyes, you had ears, you had hair, you had feet. We can all agree that we saw the body of a 10-year-old. Now that you're older, right, look into a mirror, maybe not the same mirror, but look into a mirror, and what do you see now? Again, you see a body with eyes, ears, feet, an outfit, hair. But if you really think about it, the body that you're seeing now and the body that you saw when you were 10 are two different entities. And you might feel some resistance. You'll be like, no, it was my body. I just grew up. I just developed. Yes. But on a cellular level, every single cell in your body that made up you back then is now dead. It didn't evolve. It didn't change into something else. Literally does not exist. It's dead. It's been excreted. It's gone. So if the cells that made up you when you were 10 died along the way and new cells came out of those cells to make up who you are now at your age, then you cannot be your body. Because that body is constantly dying. The cells are constantly dying and new cells are being born. So who did you see in the mirror? Essentially, if everything in your body has died since you were 10 and now you're 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, and you have a new body, then you can't be the body. You have to be the awareness, the consciousness that is noticing that there is a body to observe. You're the one that is looking in from that body. That is what I mean by the observing entity. That is your being. That is who you really are. And this applies to everything that you are aware of. You are not the thing you are aware of. You are not your emotions. You are not your age, your sex, any role that you're playing. You're not even the name that you have, because you can change your name legally. Does that mean that other person is dead? No, it's still the same. You just have a different name, right? So you're not any of these external attributes. You are the entity. You're the space inside that is observing these physical or emotional entities that are constantly changing, constantly dying and being reborn. This is what, having a spiritual practice, particularly meditation or yoga, does for me. Is it allows me to create space between me and my physicality and my emotions and my thoughts, to remind myself that I am not any of these things. So as a result, we go down to about the mental challenges. So I said to him, I said, the first thing that I would do if I was in your position with the knowledge that I now have is I would immediately start working on creating a spiritual practice that allows me to stay grounded in who I really am, which is that consciousness, right? And this might take some time to figure out. Of course, it's not going to be easy because you've had decades of identifying with your thoughts. You've had decades of identifying with your body. You've aged and you think, oh no, this is my new body. I don't want this. I want the old body. I want to be skinny. I want to be thicker or whatever. You've had decades. Your mind has done this for the majority of your life. So to create a new practice that allows you to detach from your physical or your mental positions, this will also take time and there will be resistance. So if you find that you choose meditation and you're sat to meditate, but you can't seem to sit for more than 3 minutes and your mind is running haywire and you can't do anything, that is absolutely normal. Because remember, you have decades of practice in the other direction of identifying with everything and trying and always feeling the need to be doing and moving and just following your thoughts everywhere, right? So meditation is a form of a spiritual practice. Yoga can be as well, and it does the same thing. When you lean and get into a pose that is uncomfortable and you're breathing, you're focused on your breath, eventually you get to the point where you notice that the pain or the discomfort of the pose is separate from that which you are, which is the awareness, which is now choosing to focus on your breath. It's doing the same thing. It's creating space between physical sensations, emotional sensations, and that which you are, which is the awareness that is observing this. Number 2 would be to just make one minor adjustment to your language. One minor adjustment. And this adjustment is to replace the word am as much as possible with experiencing. Again, I'll say it. Replace the word am with experiencing. Okay? Now, what this will do for you is it will, by default, create space between you and that which your consciousness is aware of. Okay? So I'll give you an example. So say you are feeling a little down, right? Or you're a little bit nervous because you have a presentation coming up, or whatever, for whatever reason you're experiencing some anxiety. If you say, I'm anxious right now, you've completely identified with it. You are now anxiety because you've taken on that identity. It's the same way as if you were looking at a beautiful picture and saying, oh, what a beautiful picture. I'm beautiful as a result of this picture. Or what an ugly picture. I'm ugly because I'm looking at this picture. That's exactly what you're doing when you say, I am, insert feeling or whatever. You are the thing that is looking at the picture. Same thing with your feelings and sensations. If you're happy, I know this is also one that I had to wrap my head around, but if you're happy, it feels good to say, I am happy. I'm so happy. But actually, what you could be saying is, I'm experiencing happiness in this moment. Because happiness is also fleeting. It's also ever-changing. It's also going to pass and there'll be a new emotion. This is the course of life. No emotion, no state is meant to last longer than a moment. So even for the good things, replace am with experiencing. I'm experiencing joy right now. I'm experiencing love right now. I'm experiencing some anxiety right now. I'm experiencing depressive moods right now. I am experiencing this foreign thing. Therefore, I can choose. but we'll get to that. Right. So that's the second adjustment I would suggest, is replace the word I am, with I'm experiencing, because this will give you space. So when you do this consistently for a while, you will eventually get to a state, and it's a state where you just have a deep knowing that all things are in flux, everything is changing. There is no need to react or do anything in the moment. When there is a need to do, you'll know. You will feel like a drive, an impulse, like, oh, I got to do this now. It won't feel reactive to your life's moment. It will come from a space of peace and calm. That will be the result of creating that spiritual practice that gives you space so you can really start to get a glimpse of who you really are, which is the awareness. B, starting to change your language so that whatever you put out into the universe is no longer you identifying with the things, the objects of the universe. And 3 is, now that you have this space, you actually now get to choose. This is the biggest, this was for me the most freeing part of my spiritual journey, was once I realized that everything is in flux. If everything is in flux and everything is flowing, I can choose who I want to be, who I want to show up as, what I want to feel, the life I want to live, the type of person I want to be in the world. I get to choose that. I no longer get to be this responsive animal that is constantly just knee-jerk responding to its environmental stimuli. I get to be the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. I get to be in the driver's seat. I get to choose when it's time to speak, when it's not time to speak, when it's worth it, when it's not worth it, when I'm in danger and I need to leave, or when I'm safe and I can continue to learn the life circumstance. This gives you freedom. Once you get to this point, you start to be in control of your world. You start to really understand that nothing really matters but what you make matter. Only you get to give meaning to anything. You get to feel everything, but know that it's going to pass, and that you get to choose joy. You get to choose fulfillment. You get to choose peace. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that you choose despite all the other things that you're experiencing. Now, did he get all of this? I don't know. But I was able to at least enforce the suggestion that the need for a spiritual practice is not to cure any mental ailments. It's not to solve any problem. It's to just help you build the muscle of awareness to allow you to give yourself space. And then from that space, you get to choose what your physical and emotional sensations mean to you. So again, you can still experience negative emotions, but if you have space, you don't identify with it. You don't play the game of, I'm looking at an ugly picture, therefore I'm ugly. That's exactly what we do when we have an emotion and we completely identify with it. So that's the topic for today. As always, please continue to love yourself. Please continue to accept yourself as you are and trust that life has your back. All right. So if this was helpful, please send me a DM if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them via emails. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment, like the content. And importantly, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them, because it helps me grow. It helps you grow as part of our community, spreading goodwill, but it also helps that person as well to get a new perspective on the things that we talk about here. Thank you.